This evening, I have with me the great producer Fletch and his. Is that Amon? That's a and his Saint.
No,
Is
it's
it?
Marvin Jones
Oh,
Jr.
Marvin Jones Jr. throwback jersey. Well, not throwback, but jersey. And then straight from fatherhood is resident Rams fan Sam. Sam, good to have you back. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just slowly getting used to that fatherhood life of not having a lot of sleep, but managing to get through the days.
As you were saying before we started recording, what is your son doing that's so entertaining? I think he does three to four things.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, shit, repeat. That's all he does at the moment.
We'll bleep that one out for the kids. Well, congratulations, Sam. We're happy for you, and we're glad to have you tonight. As we always do, we're going to break the huddle with our news segment, and as you can see, we're still we're thin this week, but we're going to keep on through the summer. We're going to have a rotating cast of our team members, and then we'll get ready when the preseason starts, and we'll probably have a full gang here. But anyway, we're going to break the huddle now. It's the end of June, not a ton going on, which we all know, but there's a couple of little tidbits that we're going to talk about. First and foremost is yet another homegrown Patriot gets paid, and that's Rhamondre Stevenson. He gets a 4-year, $36 million deal, 17 of that guaranteed. Granted, David and Carl aren't here, are Patriots fans, but I know they were very happy over our group text when that deal was announced. I'd also like to say it's interesting because this is a trend of the last few years where the Patriots have been paying players, where we know Belichick was always, he was always known as a coach that let players go 1 year too early so they save money. But this, they paid Kyle Duggar earlier. Hunter Henry got a deal, and Kendrick Bourne also all got deals, not necessarily this offseason, but in the last couple of years. So they are really trying to get a core group of young players there to build off of, which is interesting. Any thoughts on the old deal for Rhamondre Stevenson? Deserved?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good deal for him and a good deal for the Patriots. I mean, you look at the rest of their team, and obviously I know other actual Patriots fans that will probably at some point we'll probably be able to discuss this in better detail. But looking at who they have on the rest of their team, I mean, you've got May, you've got Polk, Demario Douglas, I think is their other wide receiver. So they've not got a lot in terms of to pay off, in terms of have on that cap. And I think having someone as the ability to be a top running back, I think they need to have someone like that on their team. Otherwise, I know people say don't pay running backs, but sometimes you kind of have to. And I think this is one of the situations where you kind of have to.
I completely agree, especially a good young one like Rhamondre. And you've got a rookie quarterback coming in. We don't know if he's going to be playing or starting this year, but it's a great thing to have. I can tell you that. Remember, I would think about Jared Goff in his early days with I'm blanking on his name now. Gurley, of course. Yeah, Gurley almost single-handedly took you to the Super Bowl that year. So having a good running game with a young quarterback is awesome. Another news, we learned that on Father's Day, one of the NFL, I would say one of the great all-time greats in the NFL, had a heart scare, this is personal for Fletch because it was Barry Sanders. Fletch, you want to tell us anything about that?
Yeah, there are very few people, right, let me try this again. When things like this happen, the vast majority of people will go, at least, that's a bit crap, I hope he's okay. There are very few players who across the whole NFL, you find everyone goes, no, God, please, no, don't let it be him. And Barry Sanders was one of those. You were watching people from all 32 teams just kind of go, please, not Barry. Anyone, not anyone but Barry, but, definitely not Barry. It was just, I think everyone at this point now, just very thankful that he's okay. And I know that obviously on behalf of everyone here, in the Sleep at Work Network and all that sort of stuff, we send all our best wishes for his recovery, and we know he's taking a bit of time out to recover and rest and all those sort of things because, he's knocking on a little bit, he does a lot, and it's nice for him to get a bit of rest, but I don't think anyone's ready for any serious things with Barry Sanders yet. So just glad he's okay and recovering.
Me too. And as somebody who got to watch him growing up, he is definitely one of my favorite all-time NFL players. And we're glad that he's doing well, and we wish him a speedy recovery. And we hope to see him at some of these exciting Detroit Lions games, hopefully coming up this season at some point. So that is good news. Also, this week, for those who participate, the London Games tickets went on sale. I got in the queue. Sam got in the queue. My order in the queue when I got on that morning was 204,667 or something like that. Sam, I think you did a little bit better than me.
Yeah, I was around the 57,000 mark, and I managed to get on. And when I was then, because I went and had a look to see what sort of tickets were available and what prices were available. And to be honest, I mean, it's some of the ones, I think there was only maybe some that were in the right price at the time when I got on, but most of the ones that are available were like 135 for like 2 seats together, which is a little expensive for me. And so, yeah, this will be the first year, and this will be the first of my fourth year, or the first of in 4 years where I've not gone to it. Which is, there's an element of sadness about it, but me and my mate who we normally go, we're going to do something else instead.
Never say never, Sam. We never know. And I'm going to be going to the Jaguars Bears game with some Bears fans who are friends of mine here in London. We have not procured our tickets yet, so we're going to wait and see. I also got through, and I was just wanting to see if I found something I liked. I did not know this, and all the times I've been to, in the 8 years that I've lived here, I've been to a London game every year but one, excluding when we were all inside. And I did not know there was children's tickets for the NFL games here, which is, I remember texting the group, hey, there's $34 tickets. And everyone's like, no, those are kids' tickets. And I'm like, can we get away with it? But anyway, it's exciting.
Walk in on your knees.
Yeah. It's exciting. We get these games, and we'll see. We'll definitely, hopefully, there might be a Hurdle the Line meetup at one of these games. We will see. To be determined. Also, just a little bit of a tidbit. Fletch, I believe you learned something about Jeff Bezos and the Commanders cell.
So when obviously all the stuff was kicking off about the Commanders getting taken over, we'd known for a little while that Jeff Bezos wanted to get in on the NFL action and own a team, and we all were aware of at least what we thought was interest in the Commanders when they were up for sale. A number of rumours went around as to why he never got it. We all know just how much money that man has got, or is at least worth. So it was believed that there were various things going on, but the main one was that he was just blocked from doing it. He was blocked from the sale, and it was revealed or rumoured today or over the last couple of days that he wasn't blocked. He was just simply outbid for the Commanders, which is, I think, interesting to say the least, if that is the case.
It's always interesting when the second or third richest man in the world, I can't remember exactly where he is now, can't outbid another billionaire. Always very sad.
Well, I'm not even it's Khan. It's what those two men maybe just had different valuations, and wonder why what else was what Josh Harris saw that Jeff Bezos didn't, or what made Jeff Bezos go? Maybe it was the showers. Maybe Jeff Bezos walked into them showers and went, "Yeah, no, not for me. Can't do it."
Yeah, we will never know. It reminds me of the. I'm sure you guys have heard the story about when Trump back in I think it was the '80s, tried to buy the Buffalo Bills, or maybe it was early '90s, and the other NFL players actually ex-nayed him from being an owner. I wonder if the same thing happened here with old Jeff Bezos, if he's just not liked in those circles. But you never know. But it's not really their decision, right? Yeah. There's another little news tidbit here that, if I may be so a bold here that didn't come up. Actually, Michael Penix Jr. signed his rookie deal over the last week. It's a 4-year deal worth $22.8 million over the 4 years. He'll be making $4.16 million this year, and it'll top out in 2027 at $7.2 million when he's 38 years old. So we're very excited in Atlanta country. No, I'm kidding. I am very excited. So that's 22 million. We'll see. Maybe it's going to pay off for us in a couple of years. But it's nice to see some of these rookies getting their deals done because you want these guys in camp. And I definitely want Penix around Kirk Cousins as much as possible. Our last news item today is just that we hit last week that McCaffrey was going to be on the cover of Madden 25, and this week they dropped a trailer. And I think, Fletch, you saw something that you thought was hilarious that you just wanted to mention.
Oh, yeah. Have either of you seen the trailer for it?
I've seen snippets.
I've not got around to get to it to watch it yet.
Well, the trailer opens up with Justin Fields taking a kick return for the Steelers. Now, a lot of my favourite bit was having like, it was a joke, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, Madden are in on the joke. They're playing with the joke. It was absolutely brilliant and grade A trolling. And then the rest of it was all that same spiel they do every year, where they're like, this is a totally different game where it's gonna be played totally differently, and all the engines and all the way the game moves are gonna be totally different. And yeah, none of us bought that crap. Apart from me, actually. Literally I did. I have bought that crap. I said I would. I have.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be sorting out pre-order when I get paid for both Madden and the college game.
Yeah, that's what I did. It went for the MVP.
I'm still on the fence. I'm not sure what to do yet. So, I
like to wait because they usually do like trials for the games, and I can usually get a good few weeks out of that before I need to actually then buy it, and it's usually gone down in price. So
no, by the time that I'll have that whole 10-hour trial done, and the Akron Zips will be national champions for the second year in a row by the time that trial's finished. By Tuesday night.
The problem with me, Sam, is I'm definitely buying the deluxe version of the college 25, and it's already £99, and they're like, for 40 more, and I'm like, I blame Sean because Sean was the one that I think turned me on to this. So anyway, well, that's our Break the Huddle segment for today. Those are our news tidbits. We've got, as we always love and we always do, we've got a helmet headline this week. Helmet headline. I think this one came from me because I think I was the first to see it. The Baltimore Ravens have a purple rising alternative helmet. And I'm not going to lie, I think it looks pretty damn cool. I think it looks pretty sick. I think it goes along with their all purple uniforms. Anyway, if you haven't had a chance to see it, definitely Google it. Have a good look. It's pretty slick looking. What do you guys think?
I like it. Yeah, I think I do like they've gone for that sort of like a bronzy gold with it, which I quite liked, and I think if I remember right, it was all over the actual grill and stuff as well, which I did quite like that. It's a
purple helmet with a forward facing logo of the Raven, and then it has 2 gold stripes down the center of the helmet, and it has a gold face mask. It's pretty cool looking, and I think it's kind of like a matte purple finish on it. So I don't know, it's dope. I like it. And we're big fans of any sort of helmet news here because we love helmet headlines.
Well, add in the news at the end of that as well.
What?
That I said, well, congratulations, well done for adding the word news in at the end of that, because that out of context, that's just a completely different thing. But,
got it.
We'll bleep that out for the kids.
Great. And as we said, it's the summer, so this is not going to be the longest podcast. But as our great producer Fletch reminded us this week, is that it was the NFL's official 102nd birthday. I cannot believe that. It's almost as old as my country. No, it's 102 years old. It was, I believe, it was the official. Did you say the APA? I'm sorry, my notes are scribbly here, Fletch. But officially the NFL, and as such, the NFL.com has made some Mount Rushmores for all 32 teams. And for those of you who are not familiar with Mount Rushmore is a big mountain in South Dakota in America that has the four great presidents, which are George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, my gosh, I'm Teddy Roosevelt, and I'm missing, Thomas Jefferson, of course. Wow. Sorry, everyone. It's a Monday night. But I did get there. And we love referring to things as America, which means what's your Mount Rushmore means what's your top four. So tonight we're going to quickly go through the top four for each of our teams that we have. And we're going to be starting with the former St. Louis, former Los Angeles Rams. Sam, if you had to pick a Mount Rushmore for your team, who would be the four players you think would be the most deserving?
So there's a lot of, I think, in terms of the players, I mean, I've been relatively new to the NFL in comparison to a lot of other people. I'm a little bit limited in some of the players that I know, but I do know of some of the great players. And I think, if we're going to go with two of for me, the first one that that I want to mention is Aaron Donald. I know he's just retired, but for me, been at the Rams his whole career and has been, for me, the best defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman in my time as being an NFL fan. And I think for a lot of people, probably one of the greatest of all times within the different eras that we have. So for me, Aaron Donald's the first one. Kurt Warner's probably the next one. I think I know he spent he's seen as one of the greatest quarterbacks for the Rams. He obviously won there's the show obviously about Kurt Warner, the film about him, which is on, I want to say, Netflix.
Underdog.
Yeah, on Netflix. So yeah, there's obviously Kurt Warner. The next, which you'll have to remind me of his first name, is Falk.
Marshall Falk.
Marshall Falk, that's it. Again, a player before my time, but a name that always gets banded around with the Rams. And the final one was a difficult one. I think there's a few players that could get in here. I think I've got two honourable mentions. I think Cooper Kupp's an honourable mention. I don't think he's there. Unless he was to have another couple of seasons doing what he did a few years ago, getting the Triple Crown. If he can do that a couple more seasons, he may be in the conversation. Steven Jackson, another one. So he averaged, I think over the 8 seasons he was at the Rams, I think he had 10,000 yards rushing and about 3,000 yards receiving, 56 touchdowns. So again, another great player. Not been blessed with amazing running backs throughout the years, but he was one of them. But I'm going to give it to Eric Dickerson. I think, again, another one who's sort of, when you talk about the Rams and you talk about the Rams' history, Eric Dickerson's name always comes up. There's obviously a few more that I think in the official video there was, Youngblood, Olsen, and Jones who were also in there. So yeah, there's a few players, but I think for me, the four I mentioned are probably the four I would go with.
I think those are all great choices, Sam. And this is your Mount Rushmore, so you get to make it whatever you want. And I like that you paid a little respect to the past, but also kept players from the time you've been watching. So I think that's excellent. And I would definitely tell the kids out there, being an elder statesman of NFL fandom here, if you can go back and watch anything to do with the greatest show on turf, man, that was a fun season. That first Super Bowl they went to, and that was such a fun team. That was like the first iteration of what I think the modern NFL sort of looked like, with using so many receivers, and Marshall Faulk being able to not only run the ball amazingly but also catch it. He was such a stud, man. So anyway, I think those were great choices. Moving right along, Fletch, Detroit Lions. Who would be your Mount Rushmore?
Well, I think you've got two of the single most obvious for any franchise ever in Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. Barry Sanders being widely regarded as he's up there in the conversation of top 2-3 greatest running backs of all time in his position. he's undoubtedly in the conversation. Where he falls within that conversation can be argued. Calvin Johnson, again, undoubtedly of his generation, I guess, more than of our time. If I was to look at it through Honolulu blue-tinted glasses, I would probably say of all time. But, just an unreal player, completely dominant at his position. I think the NFL actually put out a video the other day, 7 minutes of Calvin Johnson highlights, and all I could think of at the end was, but what about this one? But what about this one? But what about this one? Included the amount of times against the Bengals, against the Cowboys, going up against 3 DBs and coming down with the ball every single time was just brilliant. So I think those two were just, they're obvious. You ask anybody in the world who would be on a Lions Mount Rushmore, they two of your answers. Bobby Lane, for me, has to go in one of the spots. Despite cursing us for more than 60 years, he won multiple championships throughout the 50s. That cannot be argued. The Lions were somewhat of a dynasty in the early to mid-50s, and it was mostly down to Bobby Lane and, the whole team, but Bobby Lane was unreal within that. The only problem being his cursing of the Lions and the famous last words as he left the Detroit Lions facility, being after he got traded, was, "This team will never win a championship for 50 years without me," and 60 years later we're still waiting. So, and I think for me, the rest has to go. There are honourable mentions on who can go in. Matthew Stafford has to be in that conversation, absolutely. Herman Moore has to be in that conversation. Joe Schmidt has to be in that conversation. Chris Spielman also has to be in that conversation. And again, I think, although I know I'm probably going to get a little bit of crap for this, but I'll say it anyway. He won 2 playoff games when we'd won 1 in 60 years. I think Jared Goff has to go into that conversation at some point, for doing what nobody else could do. So there are a couple more, but I think you'd be going more along cult heroes with the Lions rather than, I think, what would be genuinely deserving of in front of the whole NFL, Mount Rushmore.
I think that's great, Fletch. Those were really great arguments, and I definitely think Megatron is an all-timer. I could say that without any light blue tinted glasses. I definitely think he is a top 10 at his position of all time, maybe your top 5.
Who was your 4th one? I know you said Sanders.
Well, yeah,
Johnson.
I think
you never actually mentioned your 4th one.
Also, 4th is a lot of honourable mentions, and I will go with, if I'll have to put one on there because otherwise it's a Mount Rushmore with a face missing. I'll go Herman Moore.
Nice. Very
Absolute
good.
Absolute legend and a wonderful human being to go
with
it as well.
Yeah. That's awesome, Fletch. And then for me, the Atlanta Falcons, who would my Mount Rushmore be? So I'm going to start first with the older guys. It's really difficult, but I think you can't start without Claude Humphreys, who was a defensive end. He's a NFL Hall of Famer. He spent 10 years with the Falcons. He was a first-round pick, 2 years in their existence. Finished his career with the Eagles. He numerous awards, tons of Pro Bowls. He's still mentioned today in Falcon circles about how great of a defensive player he was. For me personally, the second player, it's really hard because there's Tommy Nobis, who is called Mr. Falcons. He was the first pick of the Falcons when they became a franchise, and he was a great player, played for 10 years. Probably should be in the NFL Hall of Fame, and there's many people who thought he would get inducted in the last couple of years, and there's been a lot of people who were outside the Falcons organization trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. But I'm actually going to put Jesse Tuggle in over Tommy, just because Jesse Tuggle was the greatest linebacker, our best player for so many years. He was on the 98 Super Bowl team, and we're grateful for that. But he was the team he was like the consistent player in the 90s who was great all the time. Sam, it'd be a little like if Aaron Donald was your only good player and he you didn't win any games, but you like still had this awesome player, which Jesse, he was like one of the best linebackers in all of football, and he just had nobody else around him, and he was great every single year.
So basically, our season where we finished 5-12.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
I throw the name Calvin Johnson into that conversation.
Yeah, there you go. And Jesse is a great guy too. He's just one of those people who is we're proud of him in Atlanta, and he's just a good dude. And then, I mean, I think the next two are going to be completely obvious. I don't think you can have any top list of any Falcons player without Matt Ryan. The quarterback for 14 years, number one overall pick in 2007. I think a lot of people forget, literally, we had one bad season without Michael Vick after he was arrested and put in prison. And I can't tell you, as somebody who loved Michael Vick so much, how hard that was. And then we picked Matt Ryan. Many of the fan base didn't want Matt Ryan, I will say. And we picked Matt, and he was the guy. And I believe, for me, he's Mr. Falcon, and he's the greatest player that we've had, and the best quarterback. And then, of course, my favorite Falcon up until quite at the end, Julio Jones. And I would say Julio Jones is the best player all around, besides Dion. But Dion only played 5 years. We had Julio for 10, but he's the most talented football player that has ever worn a Falcons uniform, outside of maybe Michael Vick in his first few years. Sorry, I keep making caveats. But Julio was great, and I don't care what anybody says about touchdowns. He was better than Antonio Brown in my view. He averaged almost 100 yards in his first 10 years. Like, he was insane. And the big thing was, anytime you had to get a third down, you had to move the chains. It went to him. If he had caught that ball in that playoff game against the Eagles back in 2017, we would have been playing the Saints in an NFC Championship game to go back to the Super Bowl to possibly play New England again. People forget about that a lot that next season. But anyway, I love Julio. I wish he would just retire, but he would be my number 4.
Of interest, Chapman, I just had a quick look at the ones that they touted as the Mount Rushmore for the
Sure.
Falcons.
I haven't seen it.
The two you mentioned, obviously, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are in there. They're the two. Deion Sanders is the third.
Yeah.
And then the fourth is Tommy Nobis.
Yeah, Tommy Nobis, yeah. So I would have, Deion's the reason I fell in love with, I was a Falcons fan as a kid, but I was like, we drafted Deion when I was 8. I love Deion. Deion played for the Falcons and the Braves. It was insane. There was nothing like it. They should make a documentary. But he left the team. He left after 5 years, and he's still a beloved Falcon. Don't get me wrong. It's more about he only stayed 5 years versus, Julio 10, Matt 14, Tommy Nobis. I think he retired after 10 years. And Claude Humphrey played. Jesse Tuggle was there for many years. So that's the only reason. But if you were talking about the best players and that's it, Deion's he's up. He has to be up there. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a multiple. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was going to say, how last week we were talking about getting into the sport and kind of rookie years as a fan, and Madden was one of the things I spoke about. My early days of playing Madden, if I didn't play with the Lions, I played with the Falcons, and when I tell you, all I did was throw it to Julio Jones. That's all I did, because even in Madden, you throw it to Julio Jones, he's catching it, he's bringing it down, and he's getting yak. End of story.
Well, to be fair, Marshall Faulk was the cover of Madden in 2000, I want to say, after that Super Bowl, and that was a sick team to have. I'm pretty sure it was 2000, and I think he won the MVP that year too. Or no, Kurt Warner won the MVP, but did he win it the year? I might have made that up, but I'm pretty sure Marshall Faulk has an MVP too, but I could have made that up. Anyway, we have all three of our teams are great, and have great players. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. No, I was just gonna mention who who they had as the Lions.
Oh yeah, I'm interested.
Which I think it was.
I know it was in there.
All right, it's not
Bobby
the four that
Lane.
I've got here. Oh, yeah, Bobby Lane, Dick Lane, it's a Night Train.
Barry and Calvin, obviously.
Yeah,
Bobby Lane. Wasn't Joe Schmidt?
Dick Lane, Night Train.
Fair enough.
And then the Rams were, I think, I mentioned them before we came on, which was Youngblood, Donald, Olsen, and Jones. 3 of those players I had never even heard of in my life. So make of that what you will.
Do you have the Brown for Ollie? Do you have the Browns up there? Can you pull up the Browns? I'm just interested now. This is great podcasting, everyone. We have people Googling.
Browns, Mount Rushmore.
I'll tell you what, it says a lot. For 102 years of the NFL, all of these players that they've given us, all of this amazing entertainment that they brought to us, can't beat it.
So Otto Graham.
Otto Graham, yeah, of course.
Jim Brown, running back.
Duh.
Joe Thomas. And Myles Garrett.
Interesting.
Be interesting to see what Ollie thinks of those 4.
I don't think he would disagree with the first 3 at all, though. I know Ollie hates everything that's pre-1999, so he probably won't like Otto Graham, except for Jim Brown, because he just couldn't deny the greatness of Jim Brown. But Fletch, why don't you look up the Patriots really quick? Just a little shout out to Carl, and we're not going to do Tom's because I'm videoing any Chiefs talk on this one.
Oh, because literally that's the one.
All right. Tom, you can go ahead and read it just so Tom doesn't feel left out. But no, I wanted to leave you out, Tom.
Derek Thomas, Tony Gonzalez,
TG.
I bet I could
Mahomes.
put any amount of money on this.
And Kelsey.
Is it Mahomes and Kelsey?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
For the Patriots, what was it called? I did just have it there with it. Brady's on there.
Ty Law,
yep.
Rob Gronkowski, and John Hanna.
Yeah.
I was surprised it's not one of those other defensive players from the early Super Bowls. I was just going to say, I also would have had Tony Gonzalez on the Mount Rushmore for the Falcons too. He did get 5 years with us, obviously, and
anyone else you want to? You particularly you're interested in Saints? Let's do Saints.
I think shouldn't we do the Giants?
Yeah, we should do the Giants
for Sean.
So Eli Manning, obviously LT. Let me think. Missing somebody. Would Strahan be on there? Probably sure. And then I'm thinking, what's that DB they had? That was it would be Phil Simms. Oh no.
Harry Carson.
Yeah.
Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
Michael
Strahan. Michael Strahan.
Yeah, and then Eli Manning.
That makes sense. Phil Simms is going to be pissed somewhere. All right. I think that covers everybody.
Yeah, that does cover everyone, I think.
All right. Well, so to circle back, happy birthday, NFL. We wish you another 102 years. I mean, we'll all be dead more than likely, but you never know. We had a mailbag.
We did. We had our first ever mailbag today. So I'm going to throw it to you guys. Let me just get it up again real quick. So I think we should do this properly because we've only got one. So I think we should do it's our first ever one, so we'll do this properly. Sent in by Arthur Batchelor on Twitter. That would be thebatch4547. The question is, out of all 32 teams, do you see any that have had a real breakthrough with strengthening via free agency in the draft?
Yeah, we were talking about this pre-show, and I think the obvious answer has got to be the Chicago Bears. They have done a wonderful job over the offseason of remaking their offense. They've got the number one quarterback, Caleb Williams, coming in. And they didn't get Neighbors. Who was the guy they got? I'm sorry, it's Monday. They got a Dunze. Yeah, they got a Dunze.
They brought Gerald Everett in.
And they've just added a lot there. They should be a pretty decent team, which is in a hard division, obviously, with the Lions and the Packers, and we're not quite sure what the Vikings are going to be under McCarthy yet, but. That should be a very exciting division. I think hopefully it will be, we can say it's the best division in football, so we can take that away from the AFC North and Ollie's. Sam, did you have a different answer?
I'm actually going to probably. I didn't want to go for the obvious answer, so I had a look around at some of the other ones. And actually, I think that the Falcons actually had a really good off-season in terms of, especially free agency. I mean, I know that obviously in terms of the actual team, it is just, in terms of we're looking at offense, you brought in Kirk Cousins. That was a massive one. Been struggling at quarterback for a long time. And I think just purely depth. I think the one thing I think when you look at, especially sort of mainly the offense with the Falcons, was that when a player goes down, there wasn't much behind them, especially on the wide receiver. If London went down and Pitts went down, there was not. I think Johnny Smith at tight end, and obviously he got released. But I just think some of the players that you've added, especially in wide receiver, I mean Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore, Ray McLeod, I think is a really big one. I just think that they're adding depth in those positions. When you're bringing in a quarterback, you need to have those positions in certainly in depth. So, yeah, I think the Falcons had a really good off season, and I think obviously the biggest thing is that quarterback position. And obviously re-signing Nate Landman as well, which I didn't realise. I don't think that's been confirmed in terms of what his deal is, but it should have been by now, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally just that for me was the standout.
Yeah, and I think also bringing in hopefully Zach Robinson from the Rams and Raheem Morris, obviously, a new head coach. But what Zach, everything I've read and listened to about his time in LA, he should be a very exciting new OC coming in. So yeah, outside of Cousins' health, the Falcons have no excuses this year. So in a weak division, so we will see. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean, I
think the Texans have done.
I was going to say
really
Texans.
Texans. Yeah.
It's quite easy to say, oh, look, CJ Stroud had a great first year. That means he's going to be great no matter what. A lot of teams, you see them, not even with a rookie quarterback, with an average quarterback who has a slightly above average year. They think they finally found the recipe. They didn't fall into the trap of just resting on that. They went out and got him more weapons. And even improved on the defensive side of the ball as well. But
I was going to say Al-Shire was an absolute coup in my opinion. I think he's an absolutely brilliant linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Did they get Mixon as well? I forget about Mixon. I mean, that's a huge signing.
Yeah.
And Diggs, obviously, yeah. Yeah, some big
absolutely.
players.
So,
Yeah.
I think if every rookie quarterback, again, I've said this before, you can't judge a rookie quarterback who went second in the top 5 by the first year. Most rookie quarterbacks don't get in that position, don't get put in good positions to succeed. CJ Stroud was clearly in a bit of a better position to succeed. But I put a lot of that on DeMeco Ryans as well, who's a fantastic head coach.
Yeah, he is.
But also, again, like I said, they've continued to feed him weapons. So if he grows in his second year and he's got better weapons and the defense has improved, I would genuinely be looking at them to contend in the AFC North.
Oh, they're going for a Super Bowl for sure. Yeah. That's what that team is built for this year. So, And I think it's great. It's exactly sort of what I think they did around Joe Burrow a couple of years ago, where they just were like, "Hey, man, like we've got a stud, let's go," and it'll be interesting to see.
I do think that. I mean, just some other honourable mentions. I don't think that they had to play. They were up there. The Giants, I think, had a good off season. I think losing Saquon was a huge problem, obviously, but I think the players that they brought in. On the other side, I mean, obviously Devin Singletary. They brought in obviously Malik Neighbours, who's one of the biggest problems you would say with the Giants would be that they've not had wide receivers. So I think bringing in someone like Malik Neighbours is a great shout, and just boosting that offense a bit. And and just keeping some of the players that they have that they just needed to improve on in the draft mainly. The other one that I would mention is the Vikings. Obviously, signing JJ to a new deal was a big one. And
there's two JJs there now. You can't just say JJ now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, just J Jefferson. We'll say
Jefferson. J Jets.
Both of the deals, both of them technically got new deals this summer as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So, but yeah, Jefferson for me, the one that obviously is the big one. Bringing in. They released Matheson, didn't they? And obviously the running back situation was a bit of a problem, bringing in Aaron Jones. And just sort of sorting out I think the big one for them is sorting out the O-line and sorting out the defense. Those are sort of, for me, the two main bits. But getting Justin Jefferson to sign to a new deal, I think is huge. Especially when you're bringing in someone who is a rookie quarterback, giving him someone like Justin Jefferson to aim at. Is certainly an absolute, phenomenal thing to have. So they're the other ones for me that had really good off seasons.
Fletch, if anybody else wants to send us any questions, what's the best way to send questions to Hurdle the Line?
I think hit us up on Twitter at hurdletheline or at AAW_network or on our Instagram, which is at AAW Network or at hurdletheline, same thing. Or around here. I think that's by far the best way. Our DMs are open as well, if you would like to send them private.
Our DMs are always open to anybody.
Slide in them DMs.
If you would like to ask safe for work questions, or not safe for work, that's fine, but primarily safe for work questions. Chapman deals with all the NSFW ones. It's fine.
And that is not true. But we do want to hear from you. Please let us know about the show. And you can also please make sure you're following us on wherever you listen to your podcasts. You're rating us those nice 5 stars so some other people can find us. And please continue to listen to us. We're trying to give you content over the summer, building up to our preseason, which we know will come in August. We're very excited to cover our first season with you guys. We're going to have a great group of NFL fans here to be talking about all the teams, not just the ones we like. We're going to be talking about a lot of different games, a lot of things. We're going to have fun stuff going on, fantasy, who knows what. There's also, Fletch, I know you don't look, there's a college pod that you have going on that I know Sam's a part of, and I'm going to be coming on to do a possible segment come in a few weeks to talk about some SEC football, which is one of my other favorite things. There's a lot going on in the AAW network, and I think it's very exciting.
And more to come. And we're also, I think, one thing as well is at times like this, while content is slow, we have a rough plan for the next few weeks, but we are more than welcome to suggestions. And, we like to please our fans at the end of the day. So, all 3 of you.
We love doing things for the fan. We're going to keep entertaining you, moving up to when the real things start. Sam, thank you so much for making it. We know, please tell your wife, thank you. We know you're on dad duty. Fletch, as always, we love you. Please tell Mrs. Fletch that I said, no, don't tell her anything because I don't like the Saints. But, and to all our listeners, thanks so much. Don't forget to hurdle that line this week, and we will hear from you. You heard us back in July, which is only a week away. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.